What is up, everyone? This is Coach Mike with TRC Performance Coaching and TRC Endurance Racing. I coach triathlon, cycling, and running, and I do bike fitting and run gait analysis. So today I'm going to do this vlog. I'm not sure if it's going to be short or not because if you've watched my channel, I can get down a lot of rabbit holes. But today is about bike fitting. I started bike fitting last year. I went to SICI for my training, um, and I chose that route based on his philosophy as a physical therapist and bike fitter. And I kind of already believed in that. My bike fitter is a physical therapist and a bike fitter, uh, just because of the understanding of the body and the imbalances that I had after a crash last year. But I like that step-by-step process because when you go to the physical therapist, it's a step-by-step process, um, and I wanted to do that. And you know, using my experience as a cyclist, time trialer, professional duathlete, all of these things, all of the bikes. I ride all of the bikes: gravel, mountain, uh, time trial, triathlon, road, all of the bikes, um, over a lot of years competing. So I wanted to use my experience and my search for the best and most efficient position with comfort. Um, and so I've also had bike fits from here to Tucson to Kalamazoo. And, I will tell you the best fits that I have were like how I do. The worst fits were ones using motion capture. I'm not going to say the name of it, but I haven't had one good bike fit using that. You may have. In general, most of the population probably does. I am 6'3". I have a short torso and long arms. And I think that the motion capture is leveraged over good experience, a professional eye, a goniometer, and other tools that we have here. And we're just watching for green. I could do that too, and I can charge you $350. I charge $200 for a performance bike fit. That is what it is. That's what I'm going to charge. I'm never going to change it. I don't care. And you know, I want to make it as accessible to as many people as possible because everybody needs a bike fit yearly. Your position changes. It needs to be yearly, especially beginners. None of these bikes come off the rack ready to roll. It's like buying a suit. You need to have it tailored. Um, you know, as a consumer, who has, I was sponsored by Trek Stafford, and I left them at the beginning of the year because they lost their minds in their way, and some other high school antics that occurred there. I have an actual video coming out about why I left Trek, why the new Madone never worked after the other Madone. I mean, after my video where I said it was the fastest, which it was, but it had some major problems, like the speed concept. The cockpit has major problems, which they still have not addressed. They still have not released an adapter for that cockpit, and I think it's ridiculous. The bike now costs $14,000. Um, you know, just to come off on a little tangent here, when I left, I sold every Trek I owned that I raced on, every one of them. I'm so angry. And I bought a Canyon Speed Max CFR. I got lucky on that. I was originally supposed to be on a Quintana route, the VPRI, but whatever the heck happened there with the delivery, whatever. And then I bought, luckily, the S-Works Tarmac SLE. Those bikes, respectively, were $12,000 and $15,000. Um, and they came with components that did not work for my fit. So you spend $15,000 on a bike, and then you have to change crankset, 0 millimeter post, bar, shorten the stem, lengthen the stem. Um, the stem and bar alone for the tarmac is $600. And so I'm not saying that to be like, I spend all this money. No, I'm saying this because I think it's horseshit. I think the industry, and the reason that it's in the trouble it's in now, is because they're selling these bikes, and for a majority of the population, it doesn't fit them. So you're not comfortable, you're spending a lot of money, and then you go and you do a bike fit and you find out you need shorter cranks. Everybody does. Everybody does. Narrow bar, most people do, and a 0 millimeter offset post, 50/50. And so I think it's ridiculous. If I buy a bike, and there's a couple of companies that do it, but I want to pick the bar I need, the stem length, the crank length, and the post length and offset. So when I get that $15,000 bike, I want the damn thing to be ready to go and not have to worry about, does it fit me? Am I going to have problems? I think it's ridiculous. And as you see now, I think that's why it's just ridiculous. COVID is over, and the wake up call is happening across the whole bike industry. Whether they want to admit it or not, they are in big trouble. You know, so the reason I bike fit the way I do and have the partnerships that I do with Rotor, FSA, Celitalia, Kogel, and Wahoo is so I'm a dealer. So when a bike comes in here from soup to nuts, I check over the whole bike, like I said. I take measurements with the XY tool so it can translate to any bike. I have a client going to Ireland next month for some bike packing tour, and the company that is doing it needed her measurements. So I sent them the sheet. They said, this is easy. It had the XY measurements, it had the saddle height, it had all this stuff so they can translate that to whatever bike she's going to ride over there. And so it starts with the basics. You come in, you have a seat right here. There's a chair right here. You can't see it. And I'm using my phone for this, so I don't want to move it around too much. And we have a chat. And as we're chatting, I'm on my iPad and I'm filling out the form on, how long have you been cycling? Like basic questions, so I can understand how much experience you have, what injuries you had that could prevent or present problems with your fit, how flexible you are, hamstring flexibility, hip flexibility, all of these things. We're measuring shoulder width, all this stuff, all this little things. And as I'm having this conversation with you, I'm developing a picture in my mind what I might see on the bike. And there are reviews on my website, which will be below, on, for instance, he watched me ride the bike for 5 minutes and knew exactly what was wrong. That is my eye. That is not sensors and on a screen where I'm seeing green or red or yellow or whatever. That's my eye. And 9 times out of 10, it's pretty correct. I have OCD, and it's a lot of times a hindrance, but it is what it is. So, after we do our interview, you jump on the bike, I watch you ride it. I do use motion capture as a educational tool. and I'll have it running on the TV in front of you where you can kind of see like, you know, what I'm talking about, not as this is what I'm going to do. Um, so, it starts with the cleats, stance width, wider, narrower, neutral, um, you know, toe in, toe out, and then we go from there up to the saddle forward, neutral, aft, and then we go to the bar, and all, it's all, and then we start having a dance. How does that feel? It doesn't feel, something feels off, and then I'll watch you from behind, and then you know I'll ask permission, obviously, but like I will move you into position because a lot of times cyclists are just riding the bike without thinking about their form. Um, you know, you don't want your perineum to hold you up on the saddle. You need to have your abs engaged. And you know, there's all these things that go into it. So, if if you've been in the wrong position or a bad position, you've probably developed muscle imbalances. And so when you get placed in the correct position, there's going to be a fight. Your body's going to fight you. But it's over time, it's going to resolve and it's going to be correct. And you also need to address that with like functional mobility and strength exercises for whoever your coach is. If you were mine, I would already prescribe that to you. And then if you need components, we come back to the chair. You see the dealer portal. I pull up the cranks, the whatever we think you need. And then before you leave here, the price of everything. And, people oftentimes than not are surprised at what I am selling things for. Again, bikes are way too expensive. My endeavor is to make sure that the components you need to make the bike fit you properly are not. And so I sell things at a great, I don't want to say discount, but at a great price, right? Uh, just because that's me passing it on to you. One is a thank you for coming to see me, and then when the components come in, I'm going to install them, stem, crankset. And talking about soup to nuts, I had a bike come in, a Specialized Ruby, 2018, and when I removed the crank, it had a Praxis bottom bracket, and when I went to install the new cranks, the spindle was getting caught on the inside cups. Now in a shop, I know what's going to happen. You're gonna take a mallet to it. I wasn't going to do that in front of her and freak her out. And it needed a new bottom bracket anyways. When I took the bottom bracket out, I knew immediately the thing was shot. It was grainy, sandy. So I passed that on to her. And then I recommended, and she's going to do it, is just that you need to take your bikes need to be serviced annually, whether you know that or not, whether you do it yourself or take it to a shop. If you do a lot of miles, you should probably be doing it twice annually. Just, to preserve the longevity of the bike and the components, and to avoid problems before they happen. In this case, the bottom bracket was shot. So I wasn't going to do anything else with that. I gave her the crank set. I installed the stem for her. I gave her the bar because they're going to need to do the bar and the tape and all that. And then I called the shop where she lived closest, and I said, hey, this bike needs X, Y, and Z. This is one of my clients. Let me know if you have any problems. But she needs a new bottom bracket. She needs a level 2 service. She needs this thing, greased up and ready to roll. And I do that for all my clients. I'm not a saint. It's just what I believe in. Not one bike fitter has ever done that for me. It's, you need a new bar. Okay. Now, if I didn't have the experience that I do, I'd be like, where the hell do I get that? And they're going to be like, whatever. You leave here knowing what you need and a list and a picture of the prices, what it sells for and what my price is. And then you get an invoice from me. I have a firm. I am partnered with a firm. So a lot of these things, you can break up. I have some things in an e-commerce store on my website, and a lot of things I can have shipped directly to you. Big stuff like the Wahoo kicker bike and that sort of thing I can have freighted to you. Um, Little stuff like the trainers, which aren't little because they're heavy, but they have to come here first for the most part, and then I get them out to you. But I can sell you anything from Wahoo, anything. We have not seen the treadmill come out yet for us to sell because it's in pre-order and all that. But eventually, I'll be able to sell the treadmill too, which I'm intrigued by. So that is my process. It is very in depth. Even when you leave here, there's a free follow up, and then you know multiple follow ups like virtually, right? Because and speaking about virtually, I also do Zoom. A I don't call it a bike fit if it's virtual through Zoom. I call that a consult, and I've done a couple of those and had great success. There's a review on my website for one. She's actually won 2 races since her consult and the changes we made, and she actually ended up buying. Actually, she bought my speed concept, which was obviously race ready. But she put it in the positions that were recommended, and she has won her last 2 races since making that change. That's just one of many. And it's kind of, I have a. She's gonna get mad, but like I have a business mentor, and it's just I go through these spurts, and she's always on me like you need to post your athletes and testimonials and all that, and I go through these spurts because on one side I don't want to be salesy, but then on the other side of the token, you need to know that I actually do this right, because it builds trust. I coach small numbers, 10 triathletes, 10 cyclists. I am bringing running online now, and I have not decided how many. I've always been licensed by USA Track and Field, but I have not specifically coached runners. But obviously, as a long course professional duathlete, formerly, pretty good at it, pretty good runner still. Some would say. Um, so I'm gonna be bringing on a run team. And I do have 2 coming online already for that run training. And then I have a couple that do 2 sport training, triathletes, but for the most part, 10 triathletes, 10 cyclists. I don't know how many runners, but I keep small numbers um, because everyone gets like my full attention 24/7, literally 24/7. People text me 11 o'clock at night or whatever, and I answer questions. I'm just like, it's just how I do it. And like, Performance Bike Fit 200. That's free follow up, and I'm gonna get a little salesy here. But run gait analysis 200, triathlon coaching 200, and for triathlon, I'm USA Triathlon, but now Ironman University has come back online, and I'll be finishing up that coaching certification too. I am a 70.3 kind of specialist. But I want to, can I coach? Yes, I can coach any distance, any level, beginner to pro. Now, pros, I might charge a little more too, because they need to be watched a little more to save them from themselves sometimes. But I love coaching beginners. It helps me start you out properly, saves you a ton of money from buying things that you don't need, right? And then, I have everyone in between, super age grouper, whatever. Whatever your aspiration is, Team USA. I'm multiple Team USA for all distances, sprint, Olympic, long, and world championship distance is long course, like full, and And then obviously I run my fair share of half marathons, whatever. And so do my athletes. Locally here, I coach them in person. I ride with them when I'm in town. And then, you know, I check in on all of them, obviously daily, weekly through Training Peaks. And, that's swim coaching, bike, especially, and run, especially. All of it's fully custom and adapted to you. This is not cookie cutter. All of the workouts I have developed from my own training approach and for my own training, and then it's adapted to you, and I make workouts daily. I actually have a notebook over here where I write them down and then I build them in Training Peaks. And that's just how I do it. I'm never going to change. I'm not going to add more people just to make more money and then water down the experience. I'm just one person. I think it would be disingenuous. I sometimes feel like it's disingenuous that I coach 20. But, when you break that down to a micro level, macro level, that's easy. I'm not going to coach 300 people. If I did, I would bring on more coaches. And that could be down the line, but right now I just enjoy coaching small batches. I enjoy the process of coaching them. I think I'm a pretty good coach. I think some would say that I'm a pretty good coach, especially for cycling and running. Swimming, I'm not a swimmer. I coach swimming. I can coach fundamentals of swimming. I have built swimming workouts, and you will do well in the swim. But for the most part, in 70.3 and Ironman distance, the swim is such a small part. Now, if you watch, you get into like you make it up in the bike for the most part, and then run, and that's where I can turn you into a pretty formidable athlete. Anyways, all that information to contact me will be down below. Schedule a bike fit, run gait analysis, inquire about coaching. I've already given you all my prices here. And if you have any questions, comments, drop them down below. If you've seen my channel, you know that I answer all comments, even when they're a little kooky. And then as a disclaimer, because I'm sure this comment will come, as come in the past, I say a lot. I have PTSD, anxiety, panic, OCD. So like my brain does this weird thing where it like resets, and when it happens, I say, and it's annoying. I'm working on it. I apologize. That's going to be it for me. I hope you have a good rest of the week. There is a trek specific video coming before I go to nationals, and what I'm writing now, and all of that. And I'll try to do some of these vlogs like weekly, and then longer videos monthly. I don't know, whatever y'all want. If you want specific topics, also put them down below. And as far as vlogs go, I think this one was too long, and I'm sure I'm going to catch some flack for it. But it's been a while. I figured I'd give a long update, and I'm going to put a good title on this so that I can get your attention. I'm Coach Mike, TRC Performance Coaching, and I'm out.